Brothers, what's going on? Junior Genius with you once again for another video. In the book of 1 Peter, chapter 5, verse 8 in the Bible, it states, "Be sober and be vigilant, because your adversary the devil walks about like a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour." The reality is, the enemy is constantly after us. The enemy never sleeps. The enemy never slumbers. When we sleep in the nighttime, the enemy forever remains awake, plotting against us, trying to destroy us, trying to kill us, trying to mess up our lives. So right now, in this day and age, in this degenerate society, we have to become sober, to become vigilant to the devices of the enemy and any attacks of the enemy that will come our way. We need to have discernment in this time. And the reason I bring this topic up is in regards to the topic of semen retention, holding onto our energy and not bowing down to lust. We break that chain that the enemy holds over us. We break that stronghold that the enemy has over us when we don't give in to our lustful desires. The issue is, in this society, we have so many ways to numb our pain, to numb our trauma. And unfortunately, these addictions cost us our lives and significantly reduce the quality of our lives also. You see, when we don't deal with our issues, when we don't deal with our pain, when we don't deal with our trauma, when we don't deal with the hurt that we went through in the past, and as we grow as adults and when we don't heal from what we've been through, we find other ways to numb that pain, to suppress that pain. And that's via drugs, alcohol, sex, watching the websites, masturbation addiction, orgasm addiction, depleting our dopamine. And it's a real tragedy, because when we numb ourselves with addictions, when we don't learn how to heal from our past trauma and pain, and when we use addiction as a bandage to wrap around the pain we haven't really healed from, that's when the addiction sinks its claws into us, and it's hard to break free. It will be hard to break free from the drugs, whether it's weed, whether it's nicotine, whether it's cocaine, whatever drug it is. It's hard to break the chain of that addiction, because you found a way to numb that pain, to numb that hurt that you haven't healed from. And also sex addiction. You start to use other people for their bodies as masturbatory tools. It's not real love. No real love, no real connection. But you're using other people to get yourself off as a means just to, numb the pain by having meaningless sex with other people or other women. And that brings you no fulfillment, that brings you no healing. And then also the addiction to the websites as well. When you don't deal with that pain, then you run to the websites. You have a vast array of options to choose from. The amount of categories are astounding, to the point where every need will be gratified. And you become so numb to reality. You become so numb in your body. You become so numb to the things around you because you're just constantly just depleting your dopamine. You become so highly addicted to that dopamine rush that every time you ejaculate, every time you bust a nut, your prolactin spikes and you get addicted to that rush, but it will never fulfill you. When we become so addicted to these vices, these negative vices in our lives, the Holy Spirit has no room to operate in our lives because we've filled the emptiness within ourselves with these negative addictions that will only bring us more hurt and pain and shame. God can't use us when we're not sober. God can't use us when we're not vigilant to the ways of the enemy around us. We become prey to the enemy when we are a slave to our addictions, a slave to the drugs, a slave to the websites, a slave to sex. The devil will use us in any way, shape, or form, because once those addictions have their claws in us, it's a gateway for the enemy to use us. It's a gateway for demonic spirits to use us, to influence us, to enter our hearts, to enter our minds. It gives us anxiety, depression, suicidal thoughts. Our hearts become full of hatred, bitterness, anger, rage, because of the hurt that we haven't healed from, the resentment that starts to build up because of the hurt that we haven't processed, because we haven't found healthy outlets to release the emotional pain that we've been through in the past. So unfortunately, we numb ourselves with addictions. And because of that, we become so addicted, God can't use us. We're not glorifying God when we are a slave to our addictions. So we need to learn how to break them. Because when we are a slave to our addictions, the enemy has a strong grip in our lives. And we're a pawn for the devil. He can use us in any way, shape, or form. Because God doesn't have access to us, because our addictions are holding us back from actually getting closer to Him. God is always there, but we need to allow Him to have access in our lives. But once we choose addictions over the love of God, then the enemy has free reign. But we need to learn how to break the addictions in our lives so the Holy Spirit can take control over us. That's why we need to learn to surrender our addictions, surrender our hurt, our pain, our trauma to God, for Him to fully restore us, to fully heal us, rejuvenate us, revitalize us, so that we will not be a pawn for the enemy anymore. We need to learn how to become sober in mind and heart, learn how to become vigilant, to become more discerning of spiritual things around us. Because the enemy never sleeps. The enemy is always awake, always waiting for its next prey to devour. So we need to put on the armor of God, stay vigilant, and prepare ourselves when the enemy strikes. Because the enemy is relentless. The enemy has no compassion. The enemy is forever after us. But we must equip ourselves with the armor of God to once again remain sober in our hearts and in our minds, to have clear minds, clear hearts, pure hearts, pure minds, pure intention in everything that we do, in everything that we think, and in everything that we say. Because once we have clear intentions, God can fully utilize us for His will and to bring glory to His name. So brothers, I urge you, if there's any addiction that you are going through right now, you must do the very best you can to break that addiction off. You can no longer be a slave to that addiction. You can no longer be a slave to drugs, no longer be a slave to sex, no longer be a slave to any other negative addiction that you may be going through. But you must remain sober, remain vigilant to protect ourselves from the attacks of the enemy. So remember this, God is with you, and He will give you the strength to overcome that addiction, to break that addiction for good. He can do it, and I believe it. I believe you will get through this. I believe you will break that addiction of lust. I believe that semen retention will work for you once you learn how to embrace it. There's nothing too powerful for God to handle. He will get you out of that addiction. He will get you out of those lustful addictions. As long as you believe on His power, He will get you through it. So brothers, I pray that this blessed you. I pray that you have a blessed and productive day. And if there's anything you want to chat about or anything that you want me to talk about, just leave it in the comments and I'll continue to impart more wisdom upon you. But for now, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate the support thus far, and it really means a lot. And once again, I really hope it's blessed you. But for now, stay strong, take care, peace out.